Hey everybody, Aaron Bell here for Sports Talk for You. I am here for your fantasy football stardom situm. I'm going to do running backs on this show. The next show I'll do wide receivers. The next show I'll do quarterbacks. So before I get started, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, Sports Talk for You. I usually have my co-host Adam Parker with me today. He couldn't make it, so I'm doing this by myself, so bear with me. So let's get started with stardom situm running backs week 16 fantasy. Most fantasy leagues, it is championship week. Some fantasy leagues it's semifinals week because some fantasy leagues go 17 weeks, so it's mostly championship week. So for stardom situm running backs, the number one running back I want to talk about is David Montgomery. This guy has been on a tear the last 3 weeks for the Chicago Bears. In PPR leagues, he's probably averaging around 19 points per game, 19 fantasy points per game. And so he is really killing it. Even in non-PPR leagues, he's averaging around 13, 14 points per game. So this guy is a must stardom for the Chicago Bears. Another guy I want to talk about is Miles Sanders. Yes, he's been on kind of a downfall. Last week he had a huge game. 2 weeks ago he had a huge game. So he's finally starting to get back up there. Now he's playing the worst rush defense in the league and the Dallas Cowboys. So Miles Sanders is a must start. I'm projecting over 120 rush yards for this guy against the Dallas Cowboys. Although the Cowboys defense has picked it up a little, they're still the worst rushing defense in the league. So Sanders has to be in your starting lineup if you're playing for a championship this week and you have him in your fantasy league. Let's get to another guy. He was kind of injured the last couple weeks, but D'Andre Swift. D'Andre Swift is a start for the Detroit Lions. Yes, he's going up against Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. That's a great defense, but I still think D'Andre Swift has that mentality to bust through that line, get those big gains, and he is also a great catching back for Matthew Stafford. So this guy needs to be in your starting lineup if you have him, especially PPR leagues, because he will get some looks and targets, and he will probably get about 5 to 6 targets in this game, as Stafford will have a lot of checkdowns with that Tampa Bay defense coming at him. So, and let's get to another one. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is out for the Kansas City Chiefs, so that leaves Le'Veon Bell as a starter for the Chiefs. Now, most of you are thinking, well, even though Edwards-Helaire didn't play much in the Denver game, Le'Veon Bell still didn't score. Denver's got a hell of a defense. I mean, that Denver defense has shut down a lot of running backs, so there was no way Le'Veon Bell was going to get that high 20 fantasy points in that game. Le'Veon Bell now is going up against an Atlanta defense. Yes, they have picked it up, but they're still not a great running defense. And they give up a lot of catches to running backs too out of the backfield. So in my opinion, Le'Veon Bell is a start in this week's fantasy, especially if you have him coming into the championship game. I would start him because, in my opinion, he's probably going to have over 70 rushing yards. Yes, the Chiefs pass the ball a lot. That's what they do. But if Chiefs get up big in this game against the Atlanta Falcons, if that defense can shut the Falcons down, the offense can come down and get up by 14, 21 points, Chiefs might get in conservative mode to save their offensive players for the playoffs, and they might run the ball a lot. And with that defensive line not being able to stop the run, I believe the Chiefs will have a big rushing game from Le'Veon Bell. And of course, you got Darrell Williams, who'll be backing him up since Clyde Edwards is out. So if I were you, I would start Le'Veon Bell. Let's get to the Packers. This is kind of iffy because Aaron Jones was officially on the injury report today with a toe injury. We don't know if it's a turf toe. We don't know what it is, but it is a toe injury. He was limited at practice on the injury report, but I believe he will be fine. So, of course, keep him in your starting lineup. Although he's been off and on. Some weeks he'll get you 9 points. The next week he'll get you 25. You just never know with Aaron Jones. So, start Aaron Jones. Don't freak out about the injury report if you see it. I believe he will still play. They're just trying to get everybody's hopes down that he won't play. So, go ahead and start him. Nick Chubb, Cleveland Browns, start him. He's been struggling, but I believe he will get back on track this week. So that'll do it. If you have Gus Edwards or Mark Ingram for the Baltimore Ravens, sit them. Those two guys should not even be owned in fantasy leagues, as the Baltimore Ravens are a quarterback rushing team with, of course, Lamar Jackson. And then if he does pass it, he does not pass to running back. So any Baltimore Ravens running backs should be sitting on the bench. Now, the biggest concern is Dallas Cowboys, Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott. In my opinion, Elliott's coming off a calf injury. He is expected to play, but I don't expect him to get many touches. I would start Tony Pollard. Pollard got 33 fantasy points on PPR leagues last week. This guy is becoming a beast. I believe he is better than Ezekiel Elliott. So if you have Tony Pollard, I would start him. If you have Ezekiel Elliott, keep him on the bench. I believe he will not do good. He was coming off that calf injury, like I said. He won't get many touches. If he does, he's not going to do very good, even against a bad Philadelphia defense. So start Pollard, sit Elliott if you have any of those guys on your team. As for all the other running backs, I'm not a big fan of the other running backs in the league, so I'm just going to end with that because these are the big time running backs that you need to be aware of in your championship week. Of course, Christian McCaffrey, I will say, McCaffrey is out, Mike Davis is in, even against a Washington run defense. I believe you got to sit Mike Davis. I mean, I just don't. This Washington run defense is legit. You got Chase Young on the end. You got Devontae Sweat on the other end. These guys just know how to shut down that run defense and plug the holes and plug the gaps. So Mike Davis, yes, he's had a hell of a season with McCaffrey out, but I would put him on your bench this week against the Washington football team. So there's your stardom, sit-em running backs. I will have the stardom, sit-em wide receivers and quarterbacks coming up next. Thank you.